Hello and welcome to the Dash podcast, episode 129. I'm Mark Mason, and I'm normally joined by my fellow co-host and amigo, Joao Valenzuela. He may be joining us in the podcast later on, but right now, I believe he's in Spain. He was doing a conference earlier, speaking on a panel, and I think he maybe got his times wrong from different time zones. So hopefully at some point he will join in. But moving on, we have a special guest this week, Hytham Abdel-Karim, Dash Investment Foundation Supervisor and well-known Dash community member, Unchained. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello. How are you tonight?
Yeah, it's great to see you and talk to you again. We had a great chance to meet at the Dash Convention Europe, and we spoke about so many things from proposals to the status of Dash, speaking about ideas, future ideas for the diff. And you seem to be a very well-informed person. You're watching things that are going on in the political scene, but also from the monetary aspect as well. And you're no stranger to cryptocurrency. But for those out there that want to get to know a bit more about you, how did you first get into cryptocurrency? Because I know you've been in the Dash community for a long time now, but how did you first get into crypto before Dash?
So how did I get into crypto? So I got into Bitcoin I first heard about Bitcoin in about 2013. And let me know if you don't hear anything because I see the Wi-Fi signal flickering on my Jitsi. So, but I basically found out about Bitcoin in 2013 because of the hype around the 1,000.
All right. Okay. It looks like we lost your connection there. So I'm just gonna.
Do you hear me?
Yeah, it might.
We're fine for.
Yeah, I lost your connection there for a second, so it might be worthwhile if you turn off your video. So in the center on the bottom right, you've got the video button. So if you just switch that, and then hopefully the connection will be a bit stronger. So next to, there we go. That's the ticket. Good stuff. Right. Okay. So you was into Bitcoin. Now? Yeah. That sounds much better. So you got into Bitcoin first. Do you know what year that was? Was this the Mt. Gox era?
Around the $150 range. I don't remember. 2015, I think it was. So I got into it around that time, and I was watching it from 2013 to 2015. And at the time, I was in Europe, and I was traveling around. And I was doing business, doing media buys and things like that. And banking became a lot harder to get when you're overseas. So I decided I found out about this decentralized cryptocurrency, and I realized, I was like, this is the future. There's only two ways to rationalize a cryptocurrency. It's either got very high value or it's got zero, right? There is no real in between. Like you don't get, Bitcoin wasn't going to be, something like Bitcoin or any major cryptocurrency is not going to be it's not going to stay in a middle price. It's not going to be $100, right? So I rationalized in my head that it was either going to be a very high number or it was going to be zero, and it wasn't going to zero for like a year. So I decided to basically unbank myself. I went all into cryptocurrency, and basically
you went all in. That's a pretty bodacious move. So you had a lot of trust then. Can you just elaborate what you were saying before? So before crypto, you was traveling around a lot, especially in Europe, but you found there was problems with banking. What do you mean by that? Was it difficult to set up bank accounts in different countries?
Yeah. Well, I was doing media buys. So I was a media buyer, and so I would have a company offshore, and this was before all the FATCA stuff and all the U.S. complications with offshore banking. So you could set up a bank account in Hong Kong or in Seychelles or whatever and do business with it online.
Interesting. So
2014, that made it so that go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, because we had a chat about precious metals. Obviously, because when I was at Dash Convention, we had the Vulturo peeps there. So I think everyone was talking about gold at some point. But this seems to be a common trend, especially with people within Dash. So my understanding is that you was in precious metals as well before you got into Bitcoin.
Oh
Is that
yeah,
correct?
yeah. I got into gold in what was it, in at like the $500 mark. So that was when like I was, because it was just my coming of age time. Like I'd been paying attention to the 2008, 2006, 2007. Before all that stuff happened, I was paying attention to the inflation that was going on and like house prices and whatever. So I've been in the gold scene since at least I got to check when, but at least $500 price, $400 price, like 2004, 2005, sometime around there. And yeah, and so I've always been in the hard money school, right? I've always been into gold and silver, and then once cryptocurrencies came about, they started solving an entirely different. All the problems I had financially, like moving money and moving funds and handling funds, crypto solved. Like I didn't trust banks, so for me it was natural to be my own bank, and I trusted myself more than I trusted any institution because I understand how banking works. Like if you go back to 10, 15 years ago, I think all of us were like listening to Ron Paul and the hard money school people. So all the people that are in crypto are basically these kind of people that grew up listening to Ron Paul, right? Or in the US at least, listening to Ron Paul. I don't know, in the UK, it sounds like you listen to the same people I did because we're the internet generation. Like we're the people that grew up on the internet. I actually found it interesting that I haven't watched TV, like real TV, in 15 years.
Wow.
Like honestly, I think most of my education comes through YouTube, and that is even being changed now because all the algorithms. I can't barely find anybody the people that I listen to get into crypto, I can't find on YouTube much anymore.
Okay.
You
Yes.
understand?
Well,
Like
censorship is a really big thing,
censorship that's
right?
going on.
Yeah.
The algorithms are actually making it so that, yeah, it's huge.
So,
Like they go ahead.
so what made you switch up from Bitcoin to Dash? I'm guessing the phrase and terminology that you use, become your own bank. So if you're looking for the utility aspect and you want to use it, what made you jump ship to Dash? Did you jump completely all in Dash, or did you dip your toes in the water first?
Yeah. I dipped so when I first got in, I test everything myself, right? Like I don't trust anybody. I had to test everything myself. So first thing I did was I bought the Trezor and set it up myself, transferred like $100 worth of Bitcoin or Dash, and then deleted it and saw how you get it back and made sure I could get everything back. And what got me into Dash was I saw the technology, like the utility and the technology of the system is unique. Like there is nothing. I haven't seen anything like it. Like we invented it. Dash invented it, and that's what we don't get much credit for. But Dash invented all these things.
And I think we probably got to address the elephant in the room. In fact, I'm going to check CoinMarketCap right now. I know we shouldn't really pay a lot of attention to short-term noise, especially when you're having a long-term outlook. But there's been a big market pullback today, mainly from Bitcoin, which has had a domino effect on everything else. And I think Dash currently is around $69, but we've also moved down in rank to now position 22. And it's just really weird for me because in terms of utility and use, over the past few days, I've been trying to reach out to a few payment processors and services that accept cryptocurrency for goods and services to see really what the top 5 cryptos are being used. And Dash is a consistent performer. And also when we look at metrics, I mean, more than recently, we've been comparing Dash with Bitcoin in terms of active addresses, volume, transaction accounts, and and it's frustrating. And I feel like Dash is actually doing so much stuff right, in terms of the Dash Investment Foundation, which we'll get to, but in terms of releases and updates, even in a downwards market, we're putting out more software releases than we've ever done before. So do you feel this frustration as well, or is it just me?
I do as well, and I like really in the last year and a half, the things coming out of DCG have been really cool. like all the new features and all the new dips that are coming out and chain lock. Like it's just been one feature after another. Yet the market just seems to not recognize it. And I really think it's the concept of the market cap. These tokens they're basically exchange tokens, right? Like I can't imagine, but the thing is this is all a hype cycle. And as the hype goes in and out of these tokens, like it's literally exchange tokens, where Dash is a monetary blockchain, and these are utility exchange tokens. I think at some point the pump will go out of them, and we're a limited supply currency. That like it takes very little of any investor interest to move the price very significantly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think Joel's phrased it the shitcoin filter, but on CoinMarketCap, you're right. If you exclude the tokens and you just filter out, so it shows the mineable coins, Dash is currently ranked 9th. So it's just frustrating. And we all know that the majority of CoinMarketCap is still largely based on speculation, but there doesn't seem to be a real fair coin valuation based on utility, because people don't know how to value the utility price of a coin, because in terms of metrics and everything else, a lot of payment processors that can, they don't make this data public for probably good reasons, right? Because a lot of their clients are using their solutions and maybe they don't want that data public, right? They don't want their rivals and competitors knowing. But you can see some of this stuff in the metrics of BitInfo charts, coin metrics. But like, it doesn't seem like the market actually cares right now. It does all seem to be speculation. And I'd love to get your thoughts on merchant adoption, because I kind of feel Dash is going for a transitional phase. We often go through phases where we get a lot of proposals of the same nature. And 2018 was really largely focused on merchant adoption. I mean, it was phenomenal, the movement that we had within Venezuela. But, there's a lot of people now in the Discord channel saying all this merchant adoption didn't really do anything to the coin market cap. Now, were we doing merchant adoption to boost the coin market cap, the price, the pump the price? No, absolutely not, because we valued Dash as a payment focused solution, right? And we knew the chicken and egg, we had to get merchants on board. So how do you feel about this? Like, do you agree with that? How do you feel about merchant adoption with Dash now? Because in these last few weeks and last year, I think the network has become more battle hardened, but also learned a lot of lessons as well.
I've come to view everything as a buy pressure and sell pressure on the price. And one of the things I realized is you can't force somebody to pay using your token, and that's the feeling I got. And I don't want to, hopefully I don't offend anybody, but it doesn't really, to me, I don't really care. I kind of just say it the way I see it. You can't force somebody to pay using your currency. I think it's best to fill the need where the need is felt. Like we're better off as a savings utility. We're better off as a staking token, like through something like shared nodes, like CrowdNode. I think that's where, because you buy that to benefit from it, right? And CrowdNode just grows on its own, right? Something like CrowdNode or something like where you can do business with the token or get a benefit from it, right? And so one of the things I see right now, for instance, for me, that I find value from as a user, not even as someone from the diff or anything like that, just as me as a personal user. I'm a community member as well. CrowdNode, I've seen Baltoro, and I really like their integration with Dash now. So I'm finding more uses for me as someone who has capital saved up in the system, right? I can do more things with it. And I think if you can empower an individual to take care of their own funds, right? I'm not too fond of just handing out free money to people just because they don't have any money. I think you have to, in marketing, you have to kind of make someone interact with you before you can expect them to give you any value, right? They have to actually add some value before they can get some value. And those are the kinds of people that if you're building a campaign or a marketing campaign, the more the people that invest a little bit into the interaction usually stick with you longer. And I kind of think that's the same way with anything. And I think it's better to support projects or to kind of push projects that empower the user to help themselves, right? Whether through saving or spending or keeping yourself, keeping your funds secure. To me, everybody, the reason why you invest is to get a return, right? So if you can tell someone, even if he's a small minnow, right, you can take your Dash, put it in something like CrowdNode, take your earned income, put some of that in gold in Vaultoro, right? Trade a little bit, make a profit, come back with that profit, and put it back into Dash and into more either gold or Dash or shared masternode or whatever. You're getting value, right? You're getting something that you can't get anywhere else. And to me, that's the value that Dash adds. That's the value that I see as a user.
So you think we should be, in terms of onboarding users, you think we should be doing a better job of marketing, educating, informing people about the staking rewards aspect? Because if you use the message, become your own bank, that the reward payouts you get for providing the service is, I don't want to say passive income, because you're providing a service and being rewarded for that.
You're providing a service, and you're also but also you're providing a service, getting something in return, and then you can use something like Vaultoro to make more, like for instance, with a service like Vaultoro, you switch your mindset into thinking in terms of your currency is Dash, right? So I've been using it and I've been playing with it for the last couple of weeks since they integrated. And one of the things that was interesting to me is if you change your mindset into Dash is my currency, right? You can make a profit or loss in Dash, right?
Yeah.
So if you put in, say, 10 Dash and you pull out 12, you made a profit of 2 Dash, right? I'm not keeping track of the gold dollar price. I keep track of the gold Dash price, right? And you can make your profit and loss in Dash, and that kind of uses the ledger as what it was meant to be, an accounting system.
But right? how do you educate people around that? I mean, I see
I'm
a lot
just learning it now. I mean, I'm learning it firsthand right now. So that's why I'm saying is what I realize is that people, it takes a little bit of a learning curve to kind of switch your currency base, right? Once people start doing business with this or start interacting with the currency like a currency, right? You use it to tally your profits and losses, right? And that's when it clicked for me, is once you use it to tally your losses or your profits and losses, you're using it as a ledger. It's your bookkeeping, right? And that was an eye opener for me, is because other than just buying it and holding it, I can use it and I can use my Dash to make more Dash, right? And the opportunity is something like Vaultoro or CrowdNode are different aspects of it. They give you the opportunity to make more Dash in different ways. One is trading, the other is servicing the network through the masternode service. So as more of these opportunities open up, I see more and more use cases for Dash every day. Like I'm excited about this, and I don't understand yet this market, why this is kind of the way it is right now. But there's changes in the market or within Dash's ecosystem that are very exciting.
Yeah, I'm happy you mentioned Vaultoro, because obviously with the Dash to gold trading pair is great. I've had some great feedback from Vaultoro, but just to personally disclose, I've not actually used their service yet, but I've heard good things. But I do agree with you on the staking reward side. When you just think about high street bank accounts, what they're offering in the UK now, you'd be lucky to get 1.5%, let alone 2%. Actually, I don't think anyone's offering 2%. And when you think about even, smart money and traders, people waking up at the crack of morning, like 5, 6 in the morning, getting the papers out, reading everything, and they're trying to hustle, spending all days looking at charts, refreshing, and they're just trying to make a few percent each month just to be positive, right? And they could,
and it's only going to get harder because negative interest rates are here.
Absolutely. And
it's only going to get harder. You understand?
Yeah, and this is the crazy thing, and this is why I think having the sound money fundamentals, where I think a lot of people made that transition. So like I made the transition from Bitcoin to Dash a couple months in after Dash launched. But at that, after then there was the whole SegWit debate, and then it was clear Bitcoin had governance issues way before the Bitcoin Cash fork. But I think a lot of people clocked onto that, and they also realized the need for privacy. Now, I wasn't buying anything dodgy online, but I knew it was a necessity to have, because not everyone wants their bank manager to know what they have. I mean, that's a fundamental right. And a lot of people get scared by that, but it's the same thing as with physical cash, right? If I go to the corner shop and buy something with cash, that's got no footprint. It's exactly the same thing. And I think a lot of people have this malicious intent when they hear like private send everything else, but it's not. It's just the digital cash function of physical cash. I mean, what are your thoughts on private send? Do you utilize private send? Because right now, only about 1% of transactions in Dash account for private send transactions. So not a lot of people are using it.
Here's the thing is once I started using the My Dash wallets mixing and private send, because I use Trezor, right? And that's the thing is I think a lot of people use their own preferred wallets, right? And that's why we need to, if we can get other wallets to integrate this functionality. Like one of my favorite wallets, honestly, is Exodus. I don't know if you've used Exodus's.
Well, it's been a while, but I mean, they've got all the different themes. They've got the sounds as well when you get your money.
They're amazing. Their wallet's amazing.
But user friendliness, it's good, right?
Yeah. Their wallet in terms of user friendliness is amazing. It's one of the best wallets for mobile and desktop.
But I've only ever used the desktop browser version of Exodus. I've never used the mobile wallet, so I'm presuming it's pretty similar.
Yeah, they do very good work in terms of their graphics, their UX, and their usability and everything else. If they integrate, like I messaged them a few times trying to ask if they could integrate not private send. What was it that I wanted in that instant send, right? We really should start pushing the wallets to try and integrate instant send, because that's the main use case, right? That's our best. That's our main use case and best leg up in terms of against every other currency out there.
I agree with you 100%. And I'm happy to confirm that I know the Dash Core Group business development team are treating that with urgency and in many discussions, and they have been onboarding exchanges. But yeah, we're starting to see that domino effect now. And I agree with you. We got that first mover advantage with all thanks to chain locks, and having that quickly being able to deposit and withdraw from exchanges to take advantage of arbitrage trading opportunities is so important. And also, not just from a trading perspective, just from a user standpoint, right? Because it's very difficult to go back to using something else once you've done that.
Well, one of the things I think is an important use cases is ATMs, right? So I live next to an ATM, Bitcoin / Litecoin / Ethereum ATM machine nearby here. And I made the mistake of sending a Bitcoin transaction to the ATM, and they make you wait, I think, 3 confirmation, or I don't remember, 1 confirmation. And I must have sat for 2 hours one time, right? So I was like, okay, let me try this. I'll do the Litecoin. So I switched to Litecoin, and it's because it's an interaction between all the different wallets you use and the network itself. At the time I used Jax, and I'll be honest, I didn't have a good experience right off the bat with Jax. Their default fee is very low, so my Litecoin transaction sat for a month.
1 month.
A month, 400 euros worth of Litecoin. Basically stuck in limbo for a month, waiting for a transaction to clear with Litecoin. And I was like, man, this is the best use case for Dash. I was like, why is this not being screamed from the rooftops to these ATM machines? Because you can't, Like unless they have to find some other way to be able to process these Bitcoin, Litecoin transactions, or because it needs to be instantaneous. It needs to be like an ATM machine, right? Nobody wants to sit around for half an hour next to the ATM machine trying to get their Bitcoin out.
How do you feel about ATM fees? I mean, last week on the podcast we had Lamassu and briefly touched upon this subject, and of course it changes depending on the operator of the ATM, right? Because it's going to be different on each one, right? But I mean, how do you feel? Because they seem to, in my experience, seem to vary from around 6% to 12%. And also now there seems to be a lot of the ATMs pushing the KYC AML, which I actually thought would put people off using them, because I thought that was one of the advantages of using a lot of these ATMs. But according to Lamassu last week, they were saying that people are still using them and it doesn't seem to be a concern. Do you have any thoughts on that?
So you mean in terms of like the fees and if they're off-putting?
Yeah, the fees, the KYC, the AML, and just ATMs in general.
Well, see, that's what I'm telling you. For instance, in Eastern Europe, they don't really care. Like you can use a prepaid SIM card and pull out $300 to $500 a day. With like a $3 SIM card, you can get a different card each day. So it depends on where you are, and it's geo-specific. And for me here in Eastern Europe, my fees are around 4.5%, 5%. So it's not that bad for me here. I don't know what it is in the West, like in the US and stuff. But maybe because I used to be in the supermarket business, so you used to have ATMs in your stores, and it's up to each independent retailer or location to set their price. If there's nobody else around, they'll jack the price up to 10% because it's just their supply and demand.
Absolutely. Well, I'm keeping half an eye on the live chat, and we've had a few comments and questions come in already. So previously we were just talking about merchant adoption and Dash going through different phases, but we have Martin Dillon who's asked, one of the solutions for merchant adoption is to canvass employers to not only accept Dash, but are willing to also give their staff the option of receiving some of their pay in Dash. How do you feel about that? I mean, I think people being able to earn cryptocurrency is a point that we're really lacking in, and being able to offer staff to be paid in cryptos. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's something that's that's probably the best thing we need to get going, is get people getting paid in cryptocurrency. Because I don't know, but honestly, in the West, the West has such a low savings rate, right? The average American, for instance, couldn't put together about $400. So your best option is not to go as a savings vehicle, but more as a getting paid vehicle, right? And I think that's probably another direction we can go into.
Yeah, and we should just point out that there are actually options out there now how you can get your salary.
Do that. Bitwage.
So Bitwage. I know there was people.
I think Bitwage and.
I think people connecting their Uphold account to Bitwage, right? And with Bitwage, obviously, it gives you kind of a sort code, account code, and then you just give that to your employer, and they'll be just completely oblivious, right? That you're getting crypto. So that's pretty cool. I know there was a recent update with Uphold as well. They've made a partner as well. I forget the name of that now, but that came out last week. So if that does interest you, go check out dashnews.org.
I'll check it out.
Yeah, definitely. But I agree. Being able to earn cryptocurrency, I think, is one of the things that we're missing out, because people are just buying into exchanging their fiat. And if the market is mostly based on speculation, they're mostly likely going to sit on it for end game or higher gains. Then most people aren't really going to sell for a low, especially if they believe in the vision of cryptocurrency and what it offers. But I think being able to earn it actually increases accessibility and opens doors to more adoption. We're seeing more digital nomads around the world. There's a plethora of online freelance working websites. I think we need to see cryptocurrency really focus more on this. So if people have skills and services that they can offer, they can earn it. And I know there was a proposal in the treasury before for, what was it called, like Dash Lancer, I mean, there was a domain, but unfortunately, I don't think they got the funding. But I think
there's a business segment that I was telling DCG Marketing, I think Fernando, about for the affiliate segment, right? The media buyers. So this was the field that I was in before cryptocurrency, and these guys are essentially the people that, like, you're about what, 30 something right now?
Yeah, in my mid-30s.
Yeah. So do you remember back in the day when you saw all the ads on like Facebook and all in like web pages and stuff about the weight loss diets and things like that? They were everywhere.
Those horrible pop-ups.
Yeah, they were everywhere, right? They were everywhere. Now, those guys were the first generation of business people on the internet, right? So those guys were earning like 20, 30 grand a day, like 15 years ago, right?
Okay,
And
so you trying to highlight not just the advertising angle, but the kind of the affiliate marketers side of things?
yeah, the affiliate marketers, I think, are a great segment to try and push to get paid in cryptocurrency, because a lot of them are not where you think they are. They're not in like the US. They're in like Malaysia, they're in like Egypt, they're in Thailand, right? So they also run into the banking problems, right? They market stuff in the US and Europe and Canada and wherever, and they're living, or their bank accounts are usually, they're living in like Thailand or Malaysia, and sometimes they're just small time Malaysian guys that figured out how to do this stuff and end up with like huge businesses. And I think those are probably the prime people that would love to get paid in cryptocurrency. And I was looking around into like the affiliate networks or the traffic networks that pay out, that these people work with, and I don't see very many people accepting or paying cryptocurrency. So I think that's another really good market segment to look into.
Absolutely, I totally agree with that. I would love to see that. I would love to.
Yeah, like
I would
these
love to
guys
see.
are the business brain.
I would love to see CrowdNode, or to be fair, there are many fractional masternode services now that make it easy for people to earn it. Most of them but they are trusted solutions. But I think if they have affiliate referrals, I mean, you don't necessarily have to have an account with CrowdNode, but you're getting these experts that can essentially market that for you, and you're actually enabling everyone else to do everything for you. So you get like a network effect.
That's what I mentioned that to CrowdNode, because they are, when you do the affiliate stuff and you put it on, you're literally getting the best marketers in the world pushing your service, and they can do it better than you can. And plus, one of the major things, like one of the major business segments that was big in affiliate 10 or 15 years ago was like rebills, where you basically sold like skincare products or whatever. So this could kind of be like a recurring revenue stream, like these shared masternodes could be a recurring revenue stream for an affiliate, right? It fits the same business model. I don't see why it wouldn't work.
Well,
we've had to figure out a cost.
We've had one bit of criticism in the live chat saying, yeah, let's make Dash a pyramid scheme by affiliate marketing. So let me address that.
Affiliate marketing is not a pyramid scheme.
And also as well, it wouldn't be Dash, it'll be the services that will be utilized that for their business models to help push that out. So, CrowdNode is one example.
Yeah, Dash is a commodity, right? You can do with it whatever you want. And it's not like you're be marketing the services, not Dash itself, right?
Yeah,
you're marketing the use case.
So like, I'll give you one example which isn't Dash related. There is a cryptocurrency wallet called crypto.com. They have a mobile wallet, and they have a referral based system where you can send to your contact list or friends and family to sign up, and if they sign up, then you onboard new users and you get a small kickback, and they actually get a little bonus as well for signing up. So it's the same mechanism. In fact, PayPal did the same thing in the beginning, right? To onboard users, they were offering a discount, and they had a strategic partnership with Nike and a few other big brands when PayPal first launched. So, I mean, this isn't new. This isn't new to the space. It's just making sure that the right goods and services, that people actually want to use those services. But if the terms are right, people will want to do it. So I think it's an avenue that needs to be explored more. This was actually raised in the co-working session at the Dash Convention Europe, and people are really passionate about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Because
it's a huge business. It's not just the scammy stuff you see is just the easy money, lazy affiliates. But all of the business done online is done by affiliate marketers. You can call it media buying or performance marketing or whatever term you want to look at it. But in the end, it's media buying basically. So these guys are very good at media buying and marketing angles. And that's like 80% of the business online.
yeah, absolutely. Let's move on to the Dash Investment Foundation, because this is interesting. And I think actually at the Dash Convention Europe, once again, when you was a part of the diff presentation, that had the most feedback and the longest Q&A session out of all the keynotes. There was a lot of interest generated from that. So let's just talk about the diff for a little bit. So you are a diff supervisor.
I am.
I noticed that Amanda posted a Reddit post with a "this week at the diff," just to give an update on things. And the first thing that she mentioned was that Cole Allen and Spencer are now attending the weekly supervisor meetings. So you got 2 new supervisors essentially on the team.
Yes. So we decided to add two more supervisors because the workload is pretty decent, and we think we needed more Dash community members to be on the supervisory team. And so we went down and asked the people that the masternodes voted for, and went down the line to see who we can find to recruit to be on the supervisory team.
Excellent. And I should just say those 2 individuals are both well-known, respected community members as well, that have contributed to Dash in many ways. So I think that's a very good, happy addition. I have no issues with that. The first thing Amanda said, though, was the diff assigned a non-binding term sheet with a blockchain company. This grants us access to in-depth documentation about their operations so we can investigate them for possible investment. If an opportunity is deemed suitable, we'll put forth a governance proposal for it without any additional funding, if required, for the network to vote upon. So you're definitely busy. You're definitely looking at investment opportunities. So it sounds like this one's quite far down the line. I'm presuming you can't say what it is at this stage.
I can't talk about it. I can't really say much, no. But we are definitely busy. There's a lot of projects that are coming to the diff to tell us more about their projects. So yeah, like I've been in meetings since about 3:00.
And also you've been in a meeting today.
Just going through different presentations.
Excellent. So you're getting pitch decks. You're looking at the stuff. Okay, how are you finding this? Because obviously you must have had some expectation of what it was going to be like to be a diff supervisor. What's the reality of it? Because when you're evaluating these investment opportunities, it's not an easy thing to do. So is the diff supervisor role what you thought it was going to be? Are you happy? Because there must be challenges and obstacles.
Yeah, I think it's actually a great opportunity. You get to see a lot of the projects and ideas that people that are working towards an end product. And like I said, my background is media buying and marketing. So for me, I look at things directly from how are you going to market this? How are you going to what's your cost per customer, cost per acquisition? So I tend to think in terms of numbers. And for me, it's a very interesting experience to see how these other entrepreneurs think through these different problems as well.
How labor intensive has the diff supervisor role been? Because you're in unpaid positions, but I mean, at these early stages, and I'm presuming you've had more than a handful of opportunities come to you, it takes time to do your due diligence and properly evaluate these opportunities before you present them to the network. Has it proved to be more challenging than first thought?
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly, it takes us we do at least 15, 20 hours a week of just looking through stuff and in meetings and whatnot. So we hope to have it taper off more and more as the diff matures. We think the first year or two will be a lot more demanding because everything's being set up. But once it gets set up, we hope to have a process where it goes through, gets approval. If we want to send stuff to the Masternode network for a vote, it gets voted and gets funded. And so we hope to streamline it a lot more.
So you have, if I understand this correctly, you have one mandatory diff supervisor meeting each week. But like you all take your own responsibilities in your own working time to do your own due diligence. And then in this weekly meeting, you just report on your findings. I'm guessing you're delegating things amongst yourselves. Is that correct?
Yeah. So we delegate things amongst ourselves. The weekly meeting is basically to see any standing business that needs to be looked at. And then we just take it upon ourselves to like review stuff, and we discuss it amongst ourselves in this meeting.
Interesting. Okay, so how do you feel about the state of Dash? Because this last treasury cycle, and we had Michael Lewis on not too long ago on the podcast, and that at that stage, the diff came to the network, the initial proposal for 9%, and it kind of took everyone by shock. People had good things to say, bad things to say. It caused a big discussion, but sometimes it's good to have it out and have a discussion. And of course, it led to changes. So last month's cycle, there was 2 proposals where it was split, and then the community can vote. And I think the feedback was very positive. In fact, they both got funded, right? And I'm presuming you're going to do the same for this cycle as well. You're going to go for the 2 proposal approach. Is that correct?
Yeah. So far, we think that we're trying to give the network an opportunity to see if there's more value in paying someone to do something versus saving it for a rainy day. So by giving the network 250 and 250, you can decide how much you want to put away for something else versus fund it. We don't want to basically put projects that are running now that the network finds valuable in jeopardy of not getting funded if the network thinks they're valuable. So we give 2 options, and it's kind of a way to nail it home. Like, we really want to give this amount of money to be stored away for a later day. So you have that choice. The network has that choice.
Excellent. Well, it's difficult, isn't it? Because with the Dash price where it's at, the treasury system is very restricted and constrained with the funds that we have to separate. And of course, with Dash Core Group coming in, they're asking for quite a large allocation, which then means
Can you guys hear me? Hello?
Hello, I can hear you.
All right.
I'm hoping we should be back on. So if you can give us a thumbs up in the live chat, if you can hear us and see me talking. Yes, we got a yes. Fantastic, Dash-tastic. We're back on, back in the game. Okay, yeah, so what I was saying was, like, with the price down with Dash at the moment, it's very constrained and it's very limiting. And although I appreciate the diff is trying to build up the kind of like war chest so you can actually invest, I think it's actually take a lot longer than first initially thought.
The price. With the price the way it is, it's what we have to work with now. You know, I mean, it is what it is.
I mean, it's dependent. It's dependent on the investment opportunity, right? But I'm assuming they're going to want quite a substantial amount of Dash in terms of dollar denomination, right? Equivalent. So, I mean, I don't know what the current dollar value the diff is at right now. I think you've got enough for a masternode, I think, from memory. If memory serves me correct.
I think we got about a masternode and a half.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. And have you had any conversations whether to stake that?
Yeah, we're actually thinking about it. Yes.
Yeah.
We're in the process of figuring out which way to do that now, to set it up.
Interesting. Yeah, there's some interesting.
There's a lot more options now to stake as well. Like you can stake through BitGo as well.
So when we had Michael on the podcast, there was an idea that was floated by Kanuka, did a blog post. And I asked Michael about this, so it's only fair that I ask you as well. And of course, this is just your personal opinion. It's not representative of the diff. But Kanuka was suggesting that those that submit proposals to the network have to pay a 5-dash fee, right? And that's kind of like the anti-spam mechanism to stop people just putting anything up on there, right? But that 5-dash gets taken out of circulation, essentially burnt, as we say, but the correct term is takes out of circulation. But they're saying maybe we could change the protocol level and have that redirected to the diff funds. But I think at the time when I was talking to Michael, it was kind of like, you know, you're making quite a fundamental protocol change there, right? And then that's going to have to be updated. And then, you know, I'm just not sure long term whether that's the right or wrong thing to do. Do you have an opinion on that?
Yeah. So I come from a programming background. So I used to be an engineer at Intel. And one of the things that, like, to me, I started looking at the protocol, and like Michael said, it changes the protocol from being elegant to being kind of like spaghetti, right? Because then you give the money to just an entity that it's still outside of the control of the network, right? No matter what it is, it's still it just makes it less elegant. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. You don't want to take it from digital funds that are there to an outside entity. I'd rather have that be explicit, right? I don't want it to just be in the background where some entity, whether it's the diff or the DAO trust or whatever, to just get funds that just show up forever, right? I'd like it to be an explicit network decision, and that's my personal opinion. Is I think that it makes everything cleaner than just changing the code to make one entity get funds from the network for whatever reason, right? I prefer to have any entity ask explicitly for funds.
Yeah, it's tricky. I see, like, some people or outsiders sometimes have a misunderstanding of the Dash Investment Foundation, and there seems to be some misunderstanding where they think Dash Core Group has some kind of influence over the decisions you make. So just for us on the outside, how involved has Dash Core Group been? Like, are you keeping them updated about these opportunities, or are you solely working completely independent away from them?
No, we're independent. We may ask a question here or there, but we're completely independent.
Okay, and that's the way you want it, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, but we also, like, we ask for advice when we need advice, but and that's on an independent level, like for me personally. But yeah, we're completely independent.
Do you feel the diff has got the recognition that it deserves what it is in terms of the cryptocurrency space? Or do you think it's just been completely overlooked and just missed?
Well, I think we're still in the early stages, because you have to have something to invest with, right? And one of the things I tried to explain to masternode owners was in the beginning when we're asking for the 9%, right? You have to have the entity has to have some sort of funding. You can't wait till there's an investment opportunity and then come and ask the network for like $500,000, because it's just not going to work, right? It just doesn't. You kill off all the other proposals, or you disrupt the network in a huge way. So to get the funds in the entity, we had to do something like this monthly ask, basically build up a war chest. And our war chest isn't as big as a lot of other like VC funds or whatever. Where we suddenly have $1 million. Because honestly, look, if the price of Dash becomes looking at today's price, yeah. But if nothing good comes along for the foreseeable, if anytime soon, this could, whatever's saved can be a considerable war chest in the future.
Yeah.
You know, aside from any projects that are being looked at now.
And how do you feel about the Dash treasury overall? As we said earlier, Dash core groups taking quite a large chunk now because the Dash price has come down, but so they're taking a larger percentage than they have done previously. Do you see that as a problem, or do you just see that that's just the way it is?
That's just the way it is from my perspective. I mean, the treasury was initially at its bare bones. The treasury needs to keep the code working, right?
So you would agree with me right now? The priority is the development code, and especially until we get to version 1.0, right? Because
we need to, once the product is delivered, I think the biggest use case for the treasury is to make sure that the code running the network is just constantly light years ahead of its competition, and that's the main use case for the treasury. After that, everything's gravy. Like after the treasury, after the DCG and the code, everything's gravy after that.
Yeah, absolutely. There was yesterday. There was This Week in Dash posted on the main Dash Pay Twitter account, and that's just a weekly blog post that gives weekly updates on what's happening in Dash Core Group. And there was an announcement in there, and I think it might have been overlooked by the community, that on the 6th of December, they're looking to have a open house event in Arizona, Skysong Dash HQ, which is pretty exciting, right? Because we've been waiting to have some kind of an event. Now, I'm assuming this is probably going to tie into the developer testnet that we've waited for, Dash platform. So, things are happening, and yes, we are largely dependent.
Things have been happening at breakneck speed for like the last 4 months. Like, it's been insane. From chain locks onwards, there's just been like chain locks and integration after integration after, and like the good news just keeps coming, but the market is irrational.
Do you feel like the nature, the soul, the spirit of Dash is kind of moving into a different stage? There's almost like a different feeling with Dash, with this platform, and of course most of us don't know what it is yet because we haven't seen it. We don't know what's going to be built upon it, but it's completely new and it's going to change the way people look at Dash. And excuse me, even at the Dash Convention Europe, where we had Ivan and Dana give a presentation on Dash platform, and that was the first time they spoke about the side chain and some of the applications of what was possible with Dash platform. It was a lot to take in, a lot to digest. I still think people were trying to wrap their heads around it, but everyone was talking about it at the convention, and then the following Dashtober event, Oktoberfest in Munich. Are you excited about Dash platform? Or are you just like Dash? It's just digital payments. You're more. Do you care more about Dash platform or just being a payments focused solution?
I am excited about the Dash platform because it basically gives you new use cases, right? Like, for instance, I think you were talking about the website that Michael told you about, Corporatio or whatever.
Yes. Yeah. Do you want to break that down? What that is for people?
Yeah. So I keep researching like different use cases. So my background is computer science. I'm an engineer. I used to go to the University of Minnesota, and I used to work at Intel. So my background is software. So I don't program like much anymore, but my background is software, so I understand it deeply. And when you look at something like these platforms or the corporatio, for instance, you can do a lot of things on a blockchain. And one of the things that's interesting is, for instance, you can incorporate on a blockchain. So what is a corporation? A corporation is nothing than text and intent, right? It's a legal entity. Just like if you ever incorporate, it's just a piece of paper, right? So there are jurisdictions that, like Seychelles, Singapore, that are Wyoming, that are passing laws, blockchain laws, that allow you to put the legal entity on a blockchain, which is one of the best use cases actually for a blockchain, because a corporation is ephemeral. It doesn't die, right? It's basically perpetual. So if you record your incorporation documents online, you can run your entire corporation and upload your documents through like this new technology. I don't know if you IPFS. Yeah, you should be. IPFS is what the Dash network is going to run on as well. This Dash drive. So this company was doing this on Ethereum. So they set up a DApp on Ethereum as a smart contract to hold your corporation documents and your resolutions and your shares or ERC20 tokens. So basically, they took the paper form of the corporation and put it onto the Ethereum blockchain. And I think that'd be like a great use case for something like Dash, because you'd have the platform and you have the main use case of a corporation is to send and receive money, send and receive funds, right? So I could imagine something like that being used on the Dash platform, because you can. Last I heard, you can have a Dash username as an ID, right? Now, why can't I describe that in a corporate filing or a corporate paper, and have that be my publicly available addresses, like a bank account or a bank routing number, right? For a corporation, for a blockchain corporation.
Absolutely. Yeah, I find that absolutely fascinating. I think the potential use cases of using Dash platform we just can't even foresee it. I mean, I see in the future just even stocks and shares and indices being used on the blockchain. So buying shares and getting your paper certificate will be a thing of the past. And I think we slowly are moving there. I know Elon Musk's SpaceX, they're starting to offer shares via the blockchain. So I think this is going to be a natural progression.
And T0 as well. I think Patrick Byrne's company, T0, was doing shares, this blockchain certificates or blockchain shares.
Yeah, there was something in the live chat earlier. It is a bit personal and a bit sensitive, but I will address it because we're open and we're transparent. It says, how many roughly are diff guys/girls are also a masternode owner? Now, that's down to the individual whether they want to make that aware, but the reason why they ask is they say, what are some examples of conflicts of interest in the future you diff people to be mind of? So, I mean, that's a valid point. Do you see a potential conflict of interest in some of these investment opportunities in the future amongst your other colleagues in terms of diff supervisors? Is this something you've discussed internally? Don't you have a constitution? Is that involved in that?
We do have a constitution, but we're essentially unpaid volunteer. We're unpaid, like we're volunteers. In what sense would there be any conflict of interest?
Well, I guess ultimately it's down to the network to decide whether things are going to get invested, right?
Yeah, so the network decides, and we're not getting paid by anybody. So
even if you had a huge position in a certain business and then that got floated to the network to vote for, it's still down to the network to do their due diligence. You're basically just overseeing things first to make sure everything stacks up and looks good. Before presenting to the network.
I think we can act like as an advisory, like a recommendation, but in the end, it's the network's money. So we'll put it up to a vote and see how the network decides. I mean, we're not getting paid by anybody.
Yeah. How's your confidence in Dash right now? Obviously, each time the price comes down on the cryptocurrency market cap, it plays on people's emotions, right? Because they're invested and people are rightly concerned. Are you still happy with Dash in terms of development, direction, leadership, or do you think there are areas that we could improve on?
In terms of development, for sure. Like I said, the last 4 months or 5 months have been amazing in terms of the releases that are coming out, the things that are the functionality that's being added. As a daily user, it just keeps getting better and better. Like I told you before, we said mixing, for instance. I've been in Dash for about 4 or 5 years. I didn't start mixing until my Dash wallet came out, right, and made it so easy to
really
mix through the right. And I'm a computer science guy, so I'm like a technical guy, and I never really looked at mixing until I was like, oh, this is really easy. Let me just test it out. I sent it to my Dash wallet, and like 2 minutes later, seconds later, it showed up in my wallet.
I've been the other way around.
To me, that was But that's why you're saying is that most people don't think about it, because it takes a lot of forethought to sit and like, oh, I have to mix this and do this and this. So once I figured it out, and once I realized how easy it was with my Dash wallet, I started doing it on a regular. It became a habit, right?
Yeah.
So I think as the interfaces get better, and as the usability gets better, I think this stuff will become, because I now mix a lot more than I did before.
You know, what you're saying about the staking rewards earlier, and actually using that as a focus to help onboard people, because in terms of, you know, even with high street banks right now, just speaking for me being in the UK, that you're getting so little, it doesn't keep up with the rate of inflation in the country. It's essentially a stealth tax.
You're going to lose money putting money in a bank from now on. Like, that's just the way it is. You're not going to, being in a bank is useless. Like I said, even the terms of the stability you think you're getting, you're not getting any stability. You're just getting, they're all going to start having fees every month, and your interest is never going to add up to anything, right? It'll just be more fees and more fees. So I personally recommend people, like, you look at a bank account now as just you're spending money. Mm-hmm. And I would look out to elsewhere, like the different places where you can invest your money or put your money. And like I said, crypto, gold, silver, and that's what I would hold as assets, right? Even stocks are overvalued at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I'm reminded when, you know, Dash Evolution was really being discussed, and Evan Duffield, there used to be a dedicated Dash Evolution page, and it had like a mock-up of like the QT wallet, but how Evan visualized it at the time, and probably Andy Freer had a lot to do with that as well, right? Because he's kind of like the grand architect in a lot of ways, and he deserves credit in this as well. So but I remember there was a mock-up, and there was like your account balance, but then also your saving account balance. And I recall Evan saying one time, like, yeah, you put your money in the saving account and it'll whiz up a masternode in the background and you start getting your funds. And I think that really appealed and resonated with people. Now, this is going back years, and I know that's like the ultimate vision to have, and we've got a long way to get there. Obviously, development has to prioritize certain things, so I'm guessing platform, and then we may see some other dips in the future. There's some comments in the live chat, which I would just like to address on some of the things we're just discussing. So the first comment says, they agree with you. Development is amazing. Leadership and the amount of non-tech employees in Dash Core Group might be worth discussing, though. And to follow on to that, Victor T says, ask him if he feels the Dash development is agile enough, or is it too waterfall-ishy? So
I think that's a joke.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've been 15 years since I've been in project management for coding, so I don't remember the agile models or the waterfall models, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, from what you're saying before, development-wise, you're very happy, and they have to be resourceful, right? And especially if you want to retain talent, it's a tricky balancing act right now. And I'm guessing with their limited resources, they have to focus on Dash platform. I'm sure they would love to allocate other projects, and even in doing the rewards. I know recently in this week's project update, which was posted yesterday, on the Dash Core Group Medium blog. They say they've got improvements. They've optimized private send even more. So every week, Dash Core Group in terms of development are doing things and pushing things forward. I guess it's just our job to make sure that we distribute and syndicate that news to make sure people are up to speed. But it is interesting. So do you think after Dash platform comes out, Dash is going to be less dependent on Dash Core Group? I mean, because ultimately, if you want to be decentralized and have the code really open source, you want to attract as many outside developer talent as possible, right? I just feel we need to get across the finish line first with Dash platform, and then, like, you know, if you build it, they will come, sort of thing. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think. Sorry, what was did you ask a question, or was it just a statement?
Oh yeah, it was just a bit of a ramble there, but I'm just thinking. But in terms of Dash Core Group, because I think a lot of people, and there has been some comments in the chat about Dash Core Group perhaps taking up too much money and everything. Well, in some ways we are dependent on them, I guess, ultimately. So we are dependent on Dash Core Group right now to get us past the finish line, but that's not the end of the story. Yeah, Dash Core Group.
Dash Core Group is the main code development arm at this point, right? Unless another team comes up and does their own thing as well and gets funded by the network. They're the bread and butter until this evolution product comes out. So for me, I think they're doing great deliverables in terms as a user. Right, I feel that the code base is getting better, and man, it's amazing. Like I said, the last 4 months, I can't deny it. The changes have been amazing. The all the dips that have come out have been really, really great improvements in terms of usability. The instant send and basically the resending all of your funds anywhere you want within seconds. Like nobody else has that except someone who copied the work we did, right? And I think that their work's been really good. I don't know what else to say. I think at this point it's just going after market. You know, you just have to show the use case, and
of course one of the network decides ultimately each month on the budget cycle. I mean, we've had Dash Core Group proposals not being voted in the past. I mean, it's been a long time, but that has happened in the past. So the network ultimately decides its own fate and destiny with that regard in terms of development. But I agree with you, there isn't anyone else right now. And I would love to see the community attract more developers, but we don't know what's going to happen on this December 6th event. Maybe that might be dedicated to onboarding developers, because it's going to be around that sort of time where the developer testnet, we hope, launches. So things are happening, but you've got to have the platform up and running before you can bring in the developers. So I just hope the messaging, communication, resources, documentation to actually help encourage people to build on Dash is there, because that's essential. And without that, it just won't be a viable solution. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you need the developers. We need to find a way to engage the developers to build apps and dApps on the network. Like I told you, as I'm scouring around the net, I started finding these little projects that are doing these use cases that were very interesting to me. And when I look online, I look for stuff that I can use, right? Like I try to unbank myself. I try to make myself as least dependent on the banking system anywhere on the world by what I do, right? In anything that I do. So I look for these different blockchain type projects, and half of it's bullshit, right? Like half of the stuff is really not really useful. But then you come across different use cases that have like corporations on a blockchain or tokens on a blockchain or securities on a blockchain. And like, okay, this is a real use case. This is something that I find valuable right now. And we need to have developers that are able to come up with these ideas or use the blockchain for these kind of ideas. So yeah, we need developers. We need to be able to attract talent that can write code for this blockchain. or apps for this block.
Yeah, we've got another comment, not so much a question, but just a comment saying, currently inspiring, assembling Dash Mantle, the next generation of developers who continue to bring increased parity and resilience to the future of the network. I mean, that's the plan. I hope so.
Yeah.
We just got to make sure we can actually reach out and resonate to those developers and show them the value on building on the network. So I'm hoping to see hackathons, developer events. In some ways, we need to kind of switch and add an additional pillar to kind of marketing to developers themselves, because they're a whole different niche. So yeah, important stuff. Okay, so we've been going on for over an hour now, so we'll start to wrap this up. So you're on Twitter, aren't you? So most people know you in Discord as Unchained, but you're on Twitter as at highly unchained. Unchained.
Highly
okay.
unchained.
But you like to do everything on chain, right?
Yes.
Right.
Everything on chain to be unchained from the rest of the world.
Okay, cool. And of course, dashinvest.com for the Dash Investment Foundation. Yeah. Is there any other?
No, dashinvest.org.
.org. Okay, my apologies. Yeah, definitely check that out. And if you are watching this and you do come across any opportunities, or you do think there are any businesses that would be well suited to the Dash Investment Foundation, you have a contact submission page on the website, correct?
Yes. And anybody can contact us through hello@dashinvests.org.
Excellent. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this podcast. If you've enjoyed it, please press that like button, smash the dash, and don't forget to share and subscribe. I will now be going to the after party after this proposal, which is facilitated through the Dash Talk Discord. And you can join that by going to staydashy.com. And I'm just going to put that in the live chat now for those that are watching this live on YouTube. And if you go into the Dash Talk Discord, you'll be by default in the main general channel, and you can just say, where's the after party at? And it's like this, except for it's not broadcasted live, and we discuss all sorts of things. Sometimes we get Dashcore group developers in there, master nodes, community members. Sometimes people watching the podcast come in and we talk about all sorts of things. So if that's interest, staydashy.com, come into the after party. Typically goes on for hours. We talk about all sorts. Definitely do that. I just want to say thank you to Hytham for coming on the podcast. Have you enjoyed it?
Thank you for having me. I've enjoyed it immensely. Yeah, it's a great time.
It feels like it's been a long time coming. I've wanted you to come on the podcast for a long time. And I just want to say that I really appreciate your input. You are very active on the Discord channels. And, without the community, Dash is nothing. So, yeah, I want to thank you for your contributions. And yeah, let's just keep things dashy. Okay, so this was episode 129 of the Dash podcast. I hope you all have a Dash-tastic weekend. Stay positive, stay humble, but most importantly, stay dashy. Have a good weekend, everyone.